Okay, put your hands together. You are the light of the world, a bright and shining star. It's time to shine your light, let the world know who you are. We've done a lot of talking, it's time to start walking. Change your words into actions, you'd be amazed at what would happen. Oh, we have signs, t-shirts, and posters asking, what would Jesus do? Well, it's more than just a slogan. Take the next step and do what he do. Hey, be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. Be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. You were not called to just sit around with the truth. Take what you learned and know. Help somebody's baby proud. See, we've done a lot of talking. Now it's time to start walking. Change your words into actions. You'd be amazed at what would happen. Oh, we have signed t-shirts and posters asking, yeah, what would Jesus do? Well, it's more than just a slogan. Take the next step and do what he do. Everybody sing, yeah. Be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. Be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. We're gonna sing it again. Be Jesus to somebody. Say, you may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. You are the light of the world. Yeah. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. Clap it out. Let's clap it out. The truth is, you are the Jesus of this time. The truth is, you have the same power. So we're going to let this mind that was in Christ Jesus also be in us. We're going to let this love that was also in Christ Jesus be in us. We're going to let this light that was also in Christ Jesus be Be Jesus to someone. Be Buddha, be Krishna. Be Jesus to someone. Be the prophet. Muhammad. Be Jesus to someone. We're going to sing it again. Be Jesus to be Jesus, yeah. Be Jesus to someone. Be Buddha. Be Krishna. Hey. Be Jesus to someone. are the light of the world, a bright and shining star. It's time to shine your light, let the world know who you are. We've done a lot of talking, it's time to start walking. Change your words into actions, you'd be amazed at what would happen. Oh, we have signs, t-shirts, and posters asking, what would Jesus do? Well, it's more than just a slogan. Take the next step and do what he do. Hey, be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. Be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. You were not called to just sit around with the truth. Take what you learned and know. Help somebody's baby proud. See, we've done a lot of talking. Now it's time to start walking. Change your words into actions. You'd be amazed at what would happen. Oh, we have signed t-shirts and posters asking, yeah, what would Jesus do? Well, it's more than just a slogan. Take the next step and do what he do. Everybody say, yeah, be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. Be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. We're gonna sing it again. Be Jesus to somebody. Say, you may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. You are the light of the world. Yeah. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. Clap it out. Let's clap it out. The truth is, you are the Jesus of this time. The truth is, you have the same power. So we're going to let this mind that was in Christ Jesus also be in us. We're going to let this love that was also in Christ Jesus be in us. We're going to let this light that was also in Christ Jesus be Be Jesus to someone. Be Buddha, be Krishna. Be Jesus to someone. Be the prophet. Muhammad. Be Jesus to someone. We're going to sing it again. Be Jesus to be Jesus, yeah. Be Jesus to someone. Be Buddha. Be Krishna. Hey. Be Jesus to someone. Oh. Be Jesus to someone. okay to put your hands together? You are the light of the world, a bright and shining star. It's time to shine your light, let the world know who you are. We've done a lot of talking, it's time to start walking. Change your words into actions, you'd be amazed at what would happen. We have signs, t-shirts, and posters asking, what would Jesus do? Well, it's more than just a slogan. Take the next step and do what he do. Hey, be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. Be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. You were not called to just sit around with the truth. Take what you learned and know. Outside is making proud. See, we've done a lot of talking. Now it's time to start walking. Change your words into actions. You'd be amazed at what would happen. Oh, we have signed t-shirts and posters asking, yeah, what Jesus do? Well, it's more than just a slogan. Take the next step and do what he do. Everybody say, yeah, be Jesus to somebody. You may only Jesus they'll ever see. Be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. We're gonna sing it again. Be Jesus to somebody. You may be the only Jesus they'll ever see. You are the light of the world. Yeah. You may be the only Jesus.
Good morning and happy Sunday, beautiful people. It is so good to see you all. It's so good to be here with you. Let us begin, as we always do, with prayer. And this morning, our prayer champion, Lavonda Elam, will lead us in prayer.
Grand Rising and happy Sunday, everyone. Let us gather and ground in the goodness of breath as we tap into the spirit of prayer, the truth of prayer, the power of prayer, and the knowing that happens through prayer. Spirit of the Most High, I come today in honor that there is one life and that I share this life with God. God, the infinite presence that always was, is, and forever will be. God, the divine intelligence and everlasting abundance and prosperity. God, the all power, all knowledge, all wisdom. God, my perfect peace. So from this perfect peace, from this loving energy, I recognize that it is the substance of all great things. It is all that I am. It is all that you are. And it is never hidden, never buried, never separate. For I recognize that wherever I am and wherever you are, that's where God is. And indeed, all is well. All is well. So gracious Spirit, as I move from this place of wellness, I claim for myself and for each of us that we live in grace and that we are released by grace and that we are free to let go and let God as we embrace this day, as we simply be in the gift of the day's offering, moving in good mind, moving in good spirit, moving from a place of an open heart. Spirit of knowing, as we rack up rings on the ladder of spiritual studies, I pray that through our journey of the game of life that we are transformed by the renewing of our minds. I pray that we exercise our faith and our trust in greater ways yet seen, and that we tap into the oneness within as we speak into existence this very day all that we desire to make manifest. Because we know and recognize and affirm that in the mind of God, it is indeed already done. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for this giving. Thank you for this knowing. Thank you for the gifts that we are yet to receive. Spirit of light, I give thanks for the blessing that comes through these teachings. I give thanks for the portal of information that our pastors are and for their divine wisdom and insights and breakdowns that get shared through these chapters. I give thanks for the blessing that is indeed the time, place, and space that we get to be together here now. So in great confidence, I lovingly release this word back to the one knowing that is, was, and always ever will be, in a great expectation of services already rendered, as I say, amen, ashe, and so it is.
Amen.
Ashe.
And so it is. Yes, yes. Thank you, Lavonda. That was powerful.
Yes, it was.
Felt it. I felt it. I felt it. Well, good morning again, and happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth. Where it's a wonderful, just a wonderful weekend going on. We're happy that you're here, and we're happy to be here with each and every one of you. And we recognize that some of you may be joining us here for the very first time, and so we, of course, want to say hello and welcome to you. We're happy that you're here. Feel free to shout yourself out in the comments. Let us know where you're connecting in from. We're happy that you chose to stream in with us on this day. Now, if you would like to stay in touch with us, it's very easy to do. You see the information here on your screen. Just text the word welcome to 347-472-1078. Just the word welcome, no other signatures or emojis. Once you send that, you'll receive a text back with a link. Tap the link, complete the information, and you'll then receive a reply saying you're all set, and then you know you're confirmed, you're on the mailing list. And that's very important today because you'll hear about, today is God Talk Sunday, and so you'll hear about the God Talk. You may want to join the God Talk, and so you'll need to be on the mailing list in order to get the information on how to join the God Talk. So I think now that's actually a wonderful time to get into the announcements and share what's happening at CSC and what's happening today. So we've already said Happy Father's Day, but I love this image. It gives us all the feels.
It does. I love it.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. We love you. We see you. We honor you. We respect you. We appreciate you. And we are grateful for you. We celebrate you this day.
I want to say Happy Father's Day to you. You are an amazing man. I have loved witnessing how you show up as a father. And man, you're awesome. And it's been one of the great joys of being in relationship with you is to see how you show up. I appreciate you. Happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you. Dads, please enjoy your day. Enjoy this love. Receive it, take it in. And I really encourage you all to just take time to say Happy Father's Day to the dads in your life, whether they're your friends or family. It really does mean a lot. I just can speak as a father. It means a lot to hear these words. It means a lot to be appreciated. It means a lot to be celebrated. So I encourage you to do that if you haven't done that or weren't thinking about doing it. It is also Juneteenth weekend, and so we are still in that vibration as well. I'm still feeling all the feels from yesterday myself, and singing and sharing. But most importantly, we honor our ancestors.
Yes.
We would not be here without them. We would not be here without their resolve. We would not be here without their inner knowing of what was always true, that they are and were free, whole human beings.
Before someone decided to tell them they always knew.
Yes, yes. And we, of course, taking the lyric from Lift Every Voice and Sing, we live in the knowingness that the formal acknowledgement of this holiday, it's wonderful that it's a federal holiday. As we shared in our post yesterday, it does not move the needle on racism, injustice, and inequality. And so we continue marching on till victory is won, facing the rising sun of our new day begun. We live in that consciousness, and that's very important, particularly for those of us as metaphysicians. We do not speak ill of the holiday, and we do not speak ill of it being made a federal holiday. We accept it, we embrace it, and we continue to hold the vision.
Absolutely. And just like we've been talking about signs of land, that's all this is. It's a sign of land where we commemorate a day in history, a time of freedom, and we celebrate what we know is to come.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we are a church that believes in prayer, and every Wednesday morning we have a prayer call. It's the Momentum Prayer Call. It's an opportunity to check in and realign in the middle of the week. All the information is here on your screen. It's a wonderful time, pretty short call. We share a reading that day, and then we pray and move on with our day. If you're not able to make it live at that time at 7 a.m., as you can see, there's a playback number. You can call that playback number anytime, enter the access code, and then just wait, and the most recent prayer will pray. I say it often, if not every week, but it is always a joy to see and know that, that we're gathering together live on Wednesday mornings, but that so many people tap in and use this prayer call, use this prayer line 24/7. That's what it's there for.
Absolutely. So don't be afraid to use it. That's why it's there. Make it part of your daily spiritual practice if you want to be supported in that way.
Yes, 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 yes. We also recognize that you may have a prayer request. And so if you have a prayer request, you can send that to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. That prayer request is received by all of our prayer champions, and it's received by PY, and it's received by me. We do hold the high watch. We hold the high vision. We know the truth with and for you. We recognize that many times we can just be too close to the challenge, too close to the problem, too close to the illness of a loved one. And this is why it is important that we have community that we can reach out to. And that's what this is about. But of course, as you are sending that prayer request, see yourself releasing the burden, see yourself casting the burden, which is the vibration that we have been in all month. Yes, 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 yes. And as we said earlier, it is God Talk Sunday. What is the God Talk? For our first-time guests, the God Talk is an opportunity for you to ask questions. Ask any questions as it relates to spirituality, as it relates to New Thought, metaphysics. How do you apply this to your life? You may have a specific challenge or something that's going on, and we're here to support you and provide answers as Source supports and provides answers through us. And no question is off limits. It's a wonderful time. We have talked about everything
Right.
under the sun.
Everything.
Right.
And we always look forward to it because we never know what the questions are going to be.
Yes.
Ahead of time. We just allow the vibration of love to speak through us. It's interesting that we talk about practical spirituality. If you cannot apply these teachings, whether it's this book we're studying or any of the things you've learned, to your life, then it's not useful. It has to be something you can use. So join us today.
Yeah. And as you can see, the link and the password is sent via email. So as I was sharing earlier, this is why you need to be on our mailing list. So for our first time guests, when you successfully join the mailing list, and again, you'll know you've successfully joined because you'll receive that final reply that says you're all set. Then you can check your email. You'll actually have the link in your inbox and the password so that you can join us on Zoom because we're virtual. It's on Zoom right now, and you got to be there live to get your questions answered.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other wonderful thing that we're excited about is what we've been doing over these past few weeks. I guess, this is week 10, right? So
Something like that. Wow.
9 weeks. We are studying line by line, precept by precept.
All right.
The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn, which is a wonderful foundational New Thought text, right? You got to come across this text. You got to study Florence Scovel Shinn. I think one of the things that's come up and continues to come up is just all of these foundational principles, things that you heard other teachers say, but you see that she was saying it and writing it in the 1920s. We're moving forward with the next chapter today, but you will see in the post here, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, a link to purchase the book. We encourage you to get the book. We encourage you to read the book. Take it week by week. If you're just joining us for the first time, I know that you'll get something out of today, but then go back to week 1, right? Read the first chapter and go through each class week by week, piece by piece, morsel by morsel, right? Take it in small bites, which is very important because otherwise you'll get overwhelmed.
Absolutely. It's a great text. And as Peachy said, you probably heard some of your favorites out there use some of these phrases, these terms. Many of them came from Florence Scovel Shinn.
Real talk.
The other part of it that I love why we do this with these ancient or these texts is because you need to bring it into perspective. The lens under which the author wrote it, the time they wrote it, and apply it to your life, your situation, and even your ethnicity.
Right.
We are not trying to downplay any of that, but we want you to understand when things are problematic in the text. Given where we are and who we are, we want to make sure that everyone is represented and finds themselves honestly in this text.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now it is time for bliss, and PY will take us to that wonderful place within.
Yes, yes, within, where the treasure has always been. We've been talking this month about casting the burden, and it sounds good and it feels good to think about. I can mentally let go of the activity that is causing me to be in fear and doubt and worry. I can give over. I can give permission for divine insight, inspiration, answers to come. And as we've been saying, if you need to keep casting the same burden until you have let it go, then keep casting the burden. But we affirm something else. It's not just casting the burden. Then you have to go free. I love it because it's symbolic of what we're doing here. We're not just thinking about ideas. We're giving ourselves permission to let go of things that bother, burden us. None of those things are being put on us by God. That's important to also know. We're not being tested by God. But we are being given an opportunity to release the things that are burdening us. We can surrender them, we can let them go, and make room for clarity, make room for ease, make room for peace. We always say that wherever you are in your experience, if that means that you are currently feeling the burden emotionally, physically, psychologically, financially, whatever the burden is, God is there and you can cast that burden, you can let it go. But one of the things I've also noticed is that many times we, in our minds, let the burden go, but we don't let it go in our bodies. And so our bodies keep the score, carry the burden. So today, we want to notice, begin to align with the sensations in our body that are really being held tightly. We want to practice letting them go. We also want to know that everywhere in our body is not burdened. And so we can isolate those areas that feel tight, constricted. And we can also feel the areas that are free within us. Let's create a benchmark for freedom today. By closing our eyes and going into this place of meditation, experiencing God right there where we are, and noticing that there may be places of tightness, but there are also places of ease within us. Let's find the ease so that we can be free. So, go ahead and look around the room. Notice where you are. Notice that where you find yourself is a place of safety. And this external safety is a reflection of the internal safety and connection that we have. It's a reflection of the knowingness that we have. And even when our minds and our experience outside of this place show us something differently, we have safety. And we have freedom. So look around the room, notice that you're safe. And now let's prepare for this experience of meditation, of letting go of what no longer serves us. And the first thing we are going to do, align our shoulders over our hips, not rigidly, but just relaxing as the vertebrae stack on top of each other, creating that opening and that flow. Now, close your eyes. And that simple act of closing the eyes, we sometimes are not aware of how much power that simple act of closing the eyes has, of what it's connected to in the brain and the physiology, and how it begins to signal the relaxation to the rest of our body. With our eyes closed, let's just notice ourselves, our breath from the inside. There may be even other sounds in the room. You may hear my voice, but all of it goes to serve this time of relaxation. Incorporate it into your experience so that it is not a burden. It is support as we cast the burden on the mind of God and go free. As you notice your breath, make no attempts to move it, judge it. Just feel the experience that it is moving, whether it appears deep or shallow. The freedom and the ease of it, how it feels as it enters the nostrils, circulates in the body and exits the nostrils. One more round of noticing. Because as we notice, we relax more. No need to control or grip the breath. Just allow it to flow. And now, from an easy place, we move the breath. We connect with the breath. We send the breath into our low bellies now. Together, inhale into the low belly. Expanding, nice and easy, count to 4. Hold it there. Open the mouth and sigh out every burden. Count to 4. Inhale into the low belly, expanding it, making room for more of this energy. Nice slow count. Hold it there. Open the mouth and sigh it out. Inhale into the low belly now that we've made room for that breath, giving permission for the breath to rise and expand the rib cage, the front and the sides and the back of the body. Nice slow count. Hold it there. And sigh it out. Beautiful. Inhale into the low belly. We've created more room, more expansion, more opening up through the rib cage. Hold it there. And sigh it out. I cast every burden on the mind of God. And I go free. Let's take this freedom, filling up our low belly all the way up through our rib cage. Now sending that breath all the way up into the heart, the altar, the healing space, center of the chest, across the chest. Hold it there. And sigh it out. And one more time. Inhale in and all the way up to that heart, the altar, the place where healing takes place, the place where intuitive ability is activated. That first brain. And sigh it out. Now that we've reconnected to this path of breath, let's practice noticing how it feels to take long, full breaths, breathing in and up, holding at the top. This time, close the lips and exhale nice and easy through the nose. This will be the form of breathing in and out through the nose. We do this form of breathing, it slows down the physiology. It connects us more deeply to that center. It reminds us of the cycle that becomes easier as our body relaxes, so that we can cast every burden on the mind of God and go free. So let's practice a few rounds of nice, easy, deep breaths. Each repetition making our body more relaxed, and our mind follows. Beautiful. Now that our physiology is following, let's send that breath into our feet. And maybe you begin to notice that you've been gripping your experience, gripping the feet on the floor, walking around with tight ankles or toes. So if you are seated upright, maybe you wiggle the toes or raise the heels. Stop the movement and relax the toes, the soles of the feet, the heels. And as we relax, we give permission for energy to rise. Crossing our ankles, we relax the ankles. As the breath goes out and comes back, that cycle, we allow the energy to move up through our shins. Maybe they feel tight, or the calves feel tight. Nothing to hold on to. Cast the burden now. Start to notice the difference when you offer up the burden as opposed to carrying the burden. Sending that energy across the knees. Subtle, but we relax the knees. Energy flows across the thighs, the hamstrings, the glutes. Relax the thighs. Relax the hamstrings. And relax the glutes. And now let's relax the hips. The place that is actually the seat of our joy, but can sometimes be held so tightly by life experiences, by thought. We can tell the body it's okay. Relax the hips now. Noticing the slight opening, or maybe a big opening. Let's surrender the lower half of our body. Energy gathered at the base of the spine. We give it permission to rise now. This whole subtle body system, the chakra system, in our minds we imagine it opening now. We imagine each vortices of power and energy balancing as the energy flows up, 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 and now out the crown of our head. We didn't know how much we were carrying, but we release it as the energy is a clear path for us. As wisdom flows above us, as love surrounds us. Just notice any opening, any freedom you feel right now. And let's give permission for that energy to flow back down through the crown, across the third eye, Our throat that may have been closed to speak love or truth is open. We allow the energy to flow across our shoulders and down our arms, out our fingertips. And you may decide to turn the palms up to receive more, or turn the palms down to ground more. But just notice right now, scan the body. Notice if there's anywhere within you that you are gripping or holding. That is where your body is storing the burden. Holding it for you, but know that you don't have to. Because as we release the thought, we give permission for the body to release it as well. We cast our burden on the mind of God and go free. Notice within you, again, any tension. Send the breath there. Send love there. Send God there. And now notice anywhere within you that feels open and available. Let's focus there right now. It may be the palms feel open and available. It may be the ears feel open and available. Just take a moment and notice where you feel open and available. Now allow that place of openness to spread with each breath throughout your body now. As we prepare for our silent time, if the mind wanders, it's okay. Come back to this place of openness. Come back to the centering thought. Cast that burden and go free because you were born to be free. Let's experience that freedom, that ease, that opening. I will monitor the time. You take that journey into freedom. For we are free, right here, right now. with our eyes still closed. We notice the time goes, but the breath remains with our eyes still closed. We lovingly and slowly bring ourselves back here, no rush. With our eyes closed, we notice that there are no burdens too big or too small, that we cannot offer them up, that we cannot cast them and go free. Before we leave this place of relaxation, scan your body again. And maybe there's more freedom there than was before. Maybe it's spread to more places within you than before. But always know that you can come back to this place anytime you need by simply closing the eyes, taking a few rounds of breath, bringing yourself to the centering thought, and giving permission for the burdens to be released, if only slightly. Because each time you let it go, even if it is slightly, that's less for you to carry. Ultimately, we want to offer it all. Because we can. Because unconditional love can hold it. Let's continue to cast the burden on the mind of God and go free. Free to live and love. Create and experience more God. Let's begin to make our way back now. Maybe you elongate the breath, nice deep breaths. And usually after a period of this kind of relaxation, the body wants to stretch a little. The palms are turned up, turn them down. And maybe you rub the tops of the thighs. We don't jar the body back. We lovingly bring it back. We ease from this experience that we've given ourselves. We offer it to the body, our physiology, and it accepts it just like a sponge. Maybe that movement takes you into rubbing the thighs, the hamstrings, the calves. Just noticing where the contact, where the waking happens, where the ease is. Plant the palms now. Inhale, draw the shoulders up by the ears. Nice deep breath in. Hold it there. Allow the shoulders to relax back. Shoulder blades might touch, may not. Release the breath. Relax the shoulder blades down. Inhale, draw the shoulders up by the ears. And back. Release the breath as the shoulders relax back and down. Last time. Inhale up. And back. Exhale, releasing the shoulder blades down. Same time. Now bring the palms together at heart center. And nice and easy bow of the chin towards the fingertips. Giving honor and being in gratitude for the time we've given ourselves, for the love that surrounds us, for those who have gone before us, and those who accompany us on this journey. We all realize that we could not be more worthy or more loved by God. Let's continue to cast that burden. But now let's feel ourselves free. Slowly flutter the eyes open. Nice, soft gaze. No strain on the eyes. Giving the eyes time to focus, but nice and easy. Inhale. Raise the chin. Raise the gaze. Release the breath. Namaste.
Yes, yes. Namaste. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
Well, we are in the last complete chapter of the text. The final chapter is some wonderful affirmations and things you can use and make use of. But we're going to dig into this chapter. We received one question, and I think this question was really seeking clarification on some things that are in this particular chapter. So we will go over it. Please give me more insight to the concept that the writer writes about. Fourth dimensional, no man cometh to the Father save by the Son, and man should make an art of thinking. So as we get to each of those portions, we will definitely speak to that and address that. But let's just dig in. All right, let's just dig in.
Dive in.
All right. There's just so much goodness. And I'm looking at the time, right? We want to try our best to end at 12:30 because we have God Talk at 1. All right. All right, beautiful. Denials and affirmations. So we start with a beautiful verse which comes from Job. Am I right? That sounds right. But what's important here is I want to share with you a translation that I think frames this verse in a way that you might not have heard it before. So thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. We've heard that, right? Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. And of course, that is very much a statement and a phrase that has to do with alignment and manifestation and all of the things that we teach and know and understand. But it's interesting. The New Revised Standard Version translates this verse in a very specific way that I love. Yes, this is Job 22:28. You will decide on a matter, and it will be established for you, and light will shine on your ways. Right? So this idea of decree a thing and it shall be, see, a whole bunch of us been speaking a bunch of empty words. We've been decreeing, but we ain't see it, right?
Oh, good one.
Right.
We've been decreeing, but we ain't seen it.
And so when we look at this translation, what it's pointing us to is that a decision has to be made. And choice is really what's always underneath whatever it is that in truth we're manifesting. Sometimes we're choosing willingly, and many times we're choosing unwillingly. You will decide on a matter, and it will be established for you.
I love that. I
Right.
love that translation. Commit that to your memory.
Yes.
We're also so used to begging for something that we think we beg for love and money and attention and whatever status. We're so used to we don't decree a thing. And then we bring that same energy into our relationship with God, and we think we got to beg God.
Right. Right. And so you make the decision, and once you make the decision, then you're unwavering in it, right? Yes, things may take you this way or that way or the other way, or things may not work out in the way you thought initially. But if you made a decision, you're going to keep going, right? That's different than just sometimes the empty words that we speak.
Right. And when you make the decision, and you keep looking back to make sure that it's happening, then you're making a new decision. And so you're delaying the original decision. You decide and you keep moving forward. Right? Most of us don't do that. We like lifting the lid on the pot or opening the oven door, making sure it's... When you turn the oven on, do you question that it's on?
Nope.
Well, you shouldn't. You decree, you decide, and you keep moving forward.
Exactly. So Florence Scovel writes, all the good that is to be made manifest in a person's life is already an accomplished fact in divine mind and released through our recognition or spoken word. So we must be careful to decree that only the divine idea be made manifest, for often we decree through our idle words failure or misfortune, right? And so, again, we're hearing now decree a thing, and we also understanding that it's a decision, right? First, we have to decide that we're gonna be what God says we are. We're gonna have what God says we can have, right? Because it's already accomplished fact in divine mind, right? We're simply recognizing and allowing it. And then, of course, as she's speaking here, we have to be very mindful not to allow our idle words.
And our idle words could be our unconscious thought, our subconscious thought, our conditioning. All those things could be speaking as well. But when we notice it, we don't beat ourselves up. We just decide again and move forward.
Right. Choose again.
Right.
It is, therefore, of the utmost importance to word one's demands correctly, as stated in the previous chapter. If one desires a home, friend, position, or any other good thing, make the demand for the divine selection, right? We've been reading this since we started, right? This idea of the divine selection, right? What is mine by divine right? For example, infinite spirit, open the way for my right home, my right friend, my right position. I give thanks it now manifests under grace in a perfect way, right?
I love this.
Right, and so she's teaching, right? Not only just the right, and then we'll get into it in a second, but right, under grace and in a perfect way. The latter part of the statement is most important. For example, I knew a woman who demanded $1,000. Her daughter was injured and they received $1,000 indemnity. So it did not come in a perfect way. The demand should have been worded in this way. Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that the $1,000, which is mine by divine right, is now released and reaches me under grace in a perfect way.
It's almost as if, and it's not almost as if, she's giving you a formula by which to create your right and perfect denials, or affirmations in this case, right? It could be these exact words. It could be the words that work for you, but they are these key elements that you've got to notice, right?
And what's the formula? Name for God, right? She's using infinite spirit here. It could just be God. It could be Lord. It could be Jesus, if that's the word you want to use. What is your name for God, right? Then what is God doing, right? Open the way for what? Your right thing. Your right home, friend, position, salary, right? And that you give thanks, and then you affirm that it manifests under grace in a perfect way.
And grace is that thing that's ever moving, ever present, that's flexible, malleable. It's the thing that allows things to speed up or slow down according to where you are and your ability to receive what's going on in the rest of the experience that supports you. It's the thing with the bird's eye view. All of that goes together.
Right. Another way to say grace is also easily and effortlessly, right? Because that's the thing. You don't want it to. It doesn't have to come through hardship, right? And in the case of this woman, right, she needed $1,000. Her daughter got injured. She spoke the word and received what it is that she was seeking, right? But under grace means it can come easily and effortlessly, right? It comes through the most, convenient path.
The most loving
right?
path.
The most loving path, right? That's what under grace means. All right, we move on. As one grows in a financial consciousness, one should demand that the enormous sums of money which are yours by divine right reach you under grace in perfect ways. It is impossible for humanity to release more than she or he thinks is possible, for one is bound by the limited expectancies of the subconscious.
Yep.
We must enlarge our expectancies in order to receive in a larger way. All right. this can look a number of ways, right? Initially there are the things that we've seen. And so it's like, oh, I desire, to have this thing, or to have this type of relationship, or to have this type of experience, because it's based on something you've seen, right? But we come to a point in time where we have to, in order to receive more, we have to look out in the world and see there are new experiences, there are new ways of being, there are new ways of doing things, right? Part of that is what helps enlarge our expectancy. But then also we can speak the word, right, for source to enlarge our expectancy, right? And then someone or something may come in your life and change your paradigm.
Enlarge my territory. I can hear that song in my head now. And it's true. We can show up. I love Louise Hay for that. To the ocean with a thimble. We can hook up a pipeline to it. But it cannot give us more than we bring in terms of expectancy to receive.
We so often limit ourselves in our demands. For example, a student made the demand for $600 by a certain date. He did receive it, but heard afterwards that he came very near receiving $1,000. But he was given just $600 as the result of his spoken word. They limited the Holy One of Israel. Wealth is a matter of consciousness. I love this. The French have a legend giving an example of this. A poor man was walking along a road when he met a traveler who stopped him and said, "My good friend, I see you are poor. Take this gold nugget, sell it, and you will be rich all your days." The man was overjoyed at his good fortune and took the nugget home. He immediately found work and became so prosperous that he did not sell the nugget. Years passed and he became a very rich man. One day, he met a poor man on the road. He stopped him and said, "My good friend, I will give you this gold nugget, which, if you sell, will make you rich for life." The mendicant took the nugget, had it valued, and found it was only brass. So we see the first man became rich through feeling rich, thinking the nugget was gold. Right? And this is the powerful teaching, right? It is done unto you as you believe, right?
Right.
This is part of the reason that anyone is able to succeed in spite of their circumstances, right? We start to see where belief, right? Someone had to have imparted a level of belief in that you can be it, that you can do it, that you can have it, all of those things that had to be imparted. And so we see how that starts to come into play. But I want to go back to this idea of we so often limit ourselves in our demands, right? And this story is so incredibly important to me, and I, specifically when it relates to money, right? I'm reminded, Mary Manning Morrissey has said this many times, this idea of, what questions are you asking God, right? And so you can ask, God, help me to make it to the end of the month. Or you can say, God, show me how I can have all my bills paid this month and spend a week in Paris, right? And so we limit ourselves in our demands, right? Because we've minimized our expectancy. We've minimized what we think is possible. You're dealing with the all that is. You're dealing with something that is absolutely unlimited. And then as P. White just said, but we bring a thimble.
The other interesting thing about this whole story that's not spelled out in words is that one man is going back to this idea of belief, had an idea that he could receive that kind of instantaneous something from someone else. The other man questioned it, doubted it, had to go get it appraised, because he already had that consciousness of disbelief.
Yeah, it's a powerful insight.
It's like, it's right here, but it's not spelled out. And it's one of the things I love about this story is it goes to his whole core belief system. Are you the one that's going to accept the gold or go get it appraised and find out it's brass?
Right. Powerful. Every human has within themselves a gold nugget. It is our consciousness of gold, of opulence, which brings riches into our life. In making our demands, we begin at journey's end. That is, we declare we have already received. Before ye call, I shall answer, right? So that's very important, right? This idea, we begin at the end. This is holding the vision, right?
Hold it lightly.
Holding the vision. Right, knowing where we're going, right? Knowing where we're going, believing that we have already received. Now, here's the other part. that which we have received really has to be the thing that, I call it the thing under the thing, right? It's not, sometimes in these stories, right, you have an immediate need for $600, right?
Apartments or...
But even that, what is that really for? Maybe you're trying to pay your rent. I need another $600 so I can pay my rent, right? So what you're really after is the safety and satisfaction and security of paid rent, right? And then that doesn't limit God. Right? That doesn't limit the all that is to just the $600 that you need, right? And so that's the journey's end. The journey's end is I'm sitting in my apartment with my feet kicked up, feeling safe and secure, and not scared I'm gonna get kicked out, right? Like that's what you're after, and so that's important. And that's why we have to hold it lightly. It's not about the stuff,
Right. I mean, I love that it's the thing under the thing. I love, because many times when I'm working with a client, they think it's X when it's really E. It's like, it's not what you think it is. What you think it is pointing to something deeper, bigger, more expansive than you ever knew. But you get hung up on, I need to lose this amount of weight, I need this amount of money in the bank. And you're like, well, what is that giving you? Because in truth, once you figure that out, you can live in that vibration now. And that expedites that thing showing up in whatever way it's by grace supposed to.
We move on. Continually affirming establishes the belief in the subconscious, right? Let's go. Remember, we keep talking about that idea, right? We have the three aspects of mind: the subconscious, the conscious, the superconscious. The subconscious is what receives the ideas, right? It's either receiving it from the conscious mind or the superconscious mind. And so we can make use of our conscious mind by continually affirming, which establishes the belief.
Right, the conscious thinking mind can feed the subconscious mind.
Exactly. And so that's what she's talking about here. Continually affirming establishes the belief in the subconscious. It would not be necessary to make an affirmation more than once if one had perfect faith. One should not plead or supplicate, but give thanks repeatedly that she has received. The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. The rejoicing, which is yet in the desert state of consciousness, opens the way for release. The Lord's Prayer is in the form of command and demand. Give us this day our daily bread. Oh Lord, not, oh Lord, please, can we eat today? And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And ends in praise or thanksgiving. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Concerning the works of my hands, command ye me. So prayer is command and demand, praise and thanksgiving. The student's work is in making him or herself believe that with God all things are possible.
And as you pray this way, you begin to feel it in your body, in your cells. It becomes real for you. But if you're begging, that's still in that worry, doubt, and fear vibration, and everything feels in flux. When you walk away from a prayer that is, quote unquote, prayed right, you feel uplifted and inspired. You feel good. You feel like it's already done.
And she's linking us here to understanding what affirmative prayer is, what spiritual mind treatment is, because as she says, it's command and demand, praise and thanksgiving, but also this last sentence is actually very important. The student's work is in making him or herself believe that with God all things are possible. Prayer is not to make God do something, think something, or believe something. The truth has always been true. God has always been a provider. God has always been the healing and a healer. God has always been prosperity itself. We need to get our minds back in alignment with that truth. So the point of prayer is for us.
You're treating your mind.
Right. We are not trying to, tap on God's shoulder and hope God will turn around and bestow some blessing upon us. I know that's what most of us were taught prayer is, right? That's not what it is.
No.
It's not what it is. So we go on. This is as easy enough to state in the abstract, but a little more difficult when confronted with a problem. For example, it was necessary for a woman to demonstrate a large sum of money within a stated time. You ever been there?
Never.
She knew she must do something to get a realization. for realization is manifestation. And she demanded a definitely whole truth right in there. Again, she knew it wasn't, oh, I knew I need to, get on my knees and fast and pray and turn over my plate so God will hear me.
You went way back. Go ahead.
Right? She said, I need to get a realization. Why? Because the realization is the manifestation. Once you know it in your mind, what do we go? I'm not going to go back to the first, but once you make a decision, decree a thing and it shall be. Decide on a matter. See, that's the realization. That's the manifestation. Once you have it in your mind, the rest takes care of itself. She was walking through a department store when she saw a very beautiful pink enamel paper cutter. She felt the pull towards it. The thought came, I have a paper cutter good enough to open letters containing large checks. So she bought the paper cutter, which the reasoning mind would have called an extravagance. When she held it in her hand, she had a flash of a picture of herself opening an envelope containing a large check, and in a few weeks she received the money. The pink paper cutter was her bridge of active faith. That's a beautiful word.
I love that. I highlighted that.
That's a beautiful word.
Bridge of active faith.
Oh, I don't want to look it up. I just want to highlight it. There we go. Yes, bridge. Are you aware of what your bridges are? Or even to say, and I need a bridge, right? I realize that I can't just get that realization myself. I can't conjure it up, right? I just can't conjure it up, right? I need a bridge. And so she demanded a definite lead. She demanded a bridge. And then as she was living her life, she was staying open, receptive, and available, because I'm in a conversation with the all that is, and the all that is everywhere with me at all times, right here, right now. So I know God is responding to me.
Yeah, but offer that thing for me to be able to see, to activate the faith. That it didn't say give me faith either. It said here's a bridge to help me activate my faith. It's almost as if she had a dry jerry curl and she sprayed some activator.
Lord have mercy. Oh, Jesus, that was good. That was good. Many stories are told of the power of the subconscious when directed in faith. For example, a man was spending the night in a farmhouse. This is a good one. It reminded me of a story, something that happened to me. But a man was spending the night at a farmhouse. The windows of the room had been nailed down, and in the middle of the night, he felt suffocated and made his way in the dark to the window. He could not open it, and so he smashed the pane. I'm still sorry. I'm still laughing about the joke.
Me too. I'm sorry.
Lord have mercy. All right, let me go back to the beginning of this story. That was so funny. Okay. It's so perfect, too. Okay. All right. For example, a man was spending the night in a farmhouse. The windows of the room had been nailed down. And in the middle of the night, he felt suffocated and made his way in the dark to the window. He could not open it, so he smashed the pane with his fist, drew in knots of fine fresh air, and had a wonderful night's sleep. The next morning, he found he had smashed the glass of a bookcase, and the window had remained closed during the whole night. He had supplied himself with oxygen simply by his thought of oxygen. When a student starts out to demonstrate, she should never turn back. Let not that man who wavers think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. I was reminded of a time in college when we didn't have heat in our dorm. And, I prayed. I prayed. Me and my roommate, one of my best friends, we were in there cold and freezing. But something happened in the middle of the night. I thought the heat had turned back on. I thought it was fixed. And I looked at him. I said, "Did you feel that heat?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, God is good, right? That's all, right? I don't know how or why, right? Because it was still broken. It took several days before the heat was fixed again. But we were absolutely taken care of, right? And it just that inner knowing. We manifested heat. A student once made this wonderful statement. When I ask the Father for anything, I put my foot down and I say, Father, I'll take nothing less than I've asked for, but more. So all of us should never compromise. Having done all, stand. What's so powerful about this, and can we check in for a second? Anybody read this and was a little like, wait, what? Who put your foot down with God? When I asked the Father for anything, I put my foot down? right? And I say, Father, I'll take nothing less than what I asked for, but more. But it's really giving us that energy of what command and demand really is, right?
Right,
And making
because
deciding on a matter.
Right. Part of it is we're putting our foot down with our own subconscious mind. That's what we're really doing. God is not upset that we demand something. What we're really doing is demanding a change within ourselves. Right?
Right. And so this is so powerful. She goes on. This is sometimes the most difficult time of demonstrating. The temptation comes to give up, to turn back to compromise. He also serves who only stands and waits. Demonstrations often come at the 11th hour because man or humanity then lets go. That is, stops reasoning, and infinite intelligence has a chance to work. That's a whole word.
Right. Stops thinking about it, stops planning and scheming and worrying and doubting.
Right. Now, weeks ago, we were talking about letting go, and I was talking about different songs that were coming to mind. But, right, think about it. This whole consciousness of he may not come when you want him, but he comes right on time, right, which is an 11th hour consciousness, it's because we ain't let go. So the wise person, the master metaphysician, moves into a posture of letting go as quickly as possible, early, right? And what are one of the ways that we do that? Stop reasoning. It goes back to the story of the man with the gold nugget. Right? The song, one of the songs that I quoted, Jesus Can Work It Out, where the soloist says, while you're trying to figure it out, he's already worked it out. Right? Gave it over to the Lord. But that was the whole problem. We were trying to figure it out when in divine mind, right? We just read it. It's already done in divine mind. God has already worked it out. But we got to give it up. We have to let go so that we can receive the manifestation.
Right. That 11th hour is just us taking 10 to try to figure it out. Right?
Right.
And then we just finally give up in the 11th hour.
Okay,
and then,
God, I'll see what you can do.
What'd you say? I guess it's just me and you, God.
Right. Right. And so we don't have to do that. Put God in the first hour.
Yes.
That's a message right there.
Oh, it sure is.
Man's dreary desires, this is a quote, man's dreary desires are answered drearily, and his impatient desires long delayed or violently fulfilled. For example, a woman asked me why it was she was constantly losing or breaking her glasses. We found she often said to herself and others with vexation, I wish I could get rid of my glasses. So her impatient desire was violently fulfilled. What she should have demanded was perfect eyesight, but what she registered in the subconscious was simply the impatient desire to be rid of her glasses, so they were continually being broken or lost. This is where our idle conversation and statements are so important, right? To be mindful of it. It's not that, because, right, we can get into a holy roller consciousness around this, right? We can get into a fundamentalist consciousness around this, and I've seen people do it, and we can shame folk for every word that comes out of their mouth. That's not what we're saying.
No.
But it is important to be mindful because it sounds innocent. Yeah, I mean, I can hear her, saying, I wish I could get rid of my glasses. She might have been fussing about how much they cost, or
Right. She might have been having a joke,
Right. Subconscious doesn't have a sense of humor, right?
Yeah.
Florence Scovel Shinn already told us that. And so that's the thing, right? That's what's here. We know that it was, seemingly innocent, right? And
Right.
joking and all of that. But this is why we have to be mindful of it. Not fundamentalists, right? And we're not going to judge or shame each other.
Right.
But we need to be mindful for ourselves.
Because there's two things here that, again, are not written out. One is the power of your word. Right? And so if anything, you got confirmation of the power of your word by how it unfolded.
Yep.
Right? That's the first thing. And the second thing is the more we become aware, we can make a different choice. It's a consistent pattern of thought. She says it here. She was talking about how this and that and the other with her glasses. And here's the third thing. Everything manifests, so it don't matter if it's glasses or money.
Right.
right? Where you put your focus and your faith, there has to be some out picturing.
Two attitudes of mind cause loss: depreciation, as is in the case of the woman who did not appreciate her husband, or fear of loss, which makes a picture of loss in the subconscious. When a student is able to let go of his or her problem, cast a burden, she or he will have instantaneous manifestation. So I love this, right? Depreciation. This is why gratitude is important. Gratitude is appreciation, right?
Right.
Right. And we recognize what you focus on expands, it
Right.
grows, right? And so that's why gratitude is so important in every case, right? She used the example of the woman and her husband. It could be a parent and a child. It can be with your business, your place of employment. It could be your shoes. It could be your umbrella, right? We got an umbrella story coming, but right, it's that thing of and it's one of those things that I learned viscerally, right? Going back to the story you just referenced, right? I realized I was in depreciation as it related to my apartment, right? And I created an experience of losing that apartment, right? But I came to the awareness immediately once I understood it, right? And I began to bless the floors and every wall, right? And really move into that place of gratitude. So that's something that's important for us to understand. And then also fear of loss, right? We let our imaginations just run wild. We're living on a timeline, a future timeline that does not exist. Right? But we're impressing our subconscious with that image.
Right. And just one last thing about this appreciation thing. It's not to manipulate time and space, the universe. It's just to give you to explain to you how law and principle works. We're not out trying to manipulate someone into staying in relationship with us. Because in truth, what's behind this now desire to appreciate is fear of loss.
Right, exactly.
And so since the fear of loss is really the thing running the show, it's still going to happen.
Yep.
We're saying to be in this vibration of appreciation is the way you live. Not just when you want something to show up. Right?
So I said we had an umbrella story. For example, a woman was out during a very stormy day and her umbrella was blown inside out. She was about to make a call on some people whom she had never met, and she did not wish to make her first appearance with a dilapidated umbrella. She could not throw it away as it did not belong to her. So in desperation, she exclaimed, "Oh God, you take charge of this umbrella. I don't know what to do." A moment later, a voice behind her said, "Lady, do you want your umbrella mended?" There stood an umbrella mender. She replied, "Indeed, I do." The man mended the umbrella while she went into the house to pay her call, and when she returned, she had a good umbrella. So there is always an umbrella mender at hand on man's or humanity's pathway, on our pathway, when one puts the umbrella or situation in God's hands.
What do we say in meditation? There's no burden too big or too small.
Right.
This woman was like, God, take charge of this umbrella.
Right. And that's the way we must live, right? We keep God in the conversation all the time. One should always follow a denial with an affirmation. This is textbook teaching. We need to understand this. For example, I was called on the phone late one night to treat a man who I had never seen. He was apparently very ill. I made the statement, "I deny this appearance of dis-ease. It is unreal, therefore cannot register in his consciousness. This man is a perfect idea and divine mind, pure substance, expressing perfection. There is no time or space in divine mind, therefore the word reaches instantly its destination and does not return void. I have treated patients in Europe and have found that the result was instantaneous." So what did she do here? Because this is important. I love denials, right? You could deny, I deny the appearance of this death.
Yeah.
Right? But nature abhors a vacuum, right? That's a spiritual principle. It's also a physical principle, right? A scientific principle, that there's no such thing as empty space.
It might feel like it, right? But it's not true.
So when you deny something, yes, you're removing something out of your experience, but life has to fill it. It has to be filled. So either it's going to be filled by default, Or you can make the choice, again, we go back and decide on the matter, decree a thing and it shall be, and you fill the space with what it is that you desire. And so that's what she did. If she had just stopped at, I denied the appearance of this disease, right? She also had to place into the conversation the truth of who and what he is, that he is a perfect idea, divine mind, pure substance expressing perfection. I am asked so often the difference between visualizing and visioning. Visualizing is a mental process governed by the reasoning or conscious mind. Visioning is a spiritual process governed by intuition or the superconscious mind. The student should train her mind to receive these flashes of inspiration and work out the divine pictures through definite leads. When one can say, I desire only that which God desires from me, their false desires fade from the consciousness, and a new set of blueprints is given them by the master architect, the God within. God's plan for each of us transcends the limitation of the reasoning mind and is also the square of life, containing health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Many a person is building for themselves in imagination a bungalow when they should be building a palace. I love this. Again, we start to hear and see foundations. This is a textbook explanation of what the life visioning process is, something that we practice, something that we use in the 90 Days of Greatness classes, and of course something that gave birth to CSC. And it's this absolute thing that visioning, we're tapping into the superconscious mind. So every time that I teach visioning and before we go into visioning, I come back to Florence Scovel Shinn, in addition to, of course, Reverend Michael's teaching and explanation on the life visioning process. We talk about the conscious, conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind, right? And understanding that this is what we're tapping into is the superconscious, right? And we recognize that it is, I love what she calls it, the master architect. God's plan for each of us transcends the limitation of the reasoning mind. And is always the square of life, right? And this is what's beautiful and powerful about visioning versus visualizing. Visualizing is wonderful, as Reverend Michael says. It's an introductory skill and tool that we have to make use of, and we learn that we can hold something in mind. We can consciously have a picture of something, manifesting a parking spot or even a home, right? But it's based on something you've already seen. It's based on something that's already out here. Right? But we wouldn't have airplanes right now if the Wright brothers were just visualizing, right? We wouldn't have the technology that we're using right now to be connected, right? If folks were just visualizing, because it would only be based how people communicated and connected. It would be limited to how people were communicating and connecting at that time. But there were some bodies that tapped into the supermind that was saying that you can connect wirelessly and you can connect all, be connected simultaneously all over the world, and you can see each other and hear each other, and all would sound crazy.
It's almost as if they kind of feed off of each other in a way. That once you are visioning, then you can once you start to get hits and leads, then you can start to use that power of visualizing. Right? To stay in that vibration of how good it feels when this thing happens or manifests. But if you just rely on what you've seen, you'll only get what you've gotten.
There you go. Right?
And even if it's more than what your parents had, what if you're supposed to be the first multimillionaire in your family and not just the first $100,000 a year earner? Right? So it's again, it's not just about money, but it's about understanding it's beyond. I love looking at homes. I'm like, wow, you can do that?
Right.
And so, of course, it plants something in my mind, but then I always say, okay, well, what is mine by divine right? So it's they can be used together.
Yeah. And so the bungalow versus the palace, right? I love one of the translations of that verse. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that we could ask or think, right? But the one translation, I think it's the Message Bible, it says, beyond our wildest dreams, right? Above all that we can ask or think, that thing which can go beyond our wildest dreams, that's the space that you get to tap into. That's what visioning is about.
And for many of us, it's even hard to even start to tap into that place. That's why a visioning process is so helpful. because you're guided through the process. Many of us have never, ever gone beyond what we can see, and we don't trust God enough to allow it to do its work. And so you use a process like visioning to begin to open up to possibility, to open up to intuitive hit, to open up to unconditional love, giving you beyond your wildest dreams.
Yep. If a student tries to force a demonstration through the reasoning mind, he or she brings it to a standstill. I will hasten it, saith the Lord. He should act only, or we should act only, through intuition or definite leads. PY literally just said that. Right? Rest in the Lord and wait patiently. Trust also in him, and he will bring it to pass. Right? This is one of those other skills that we must develop. Right? Resting, waiting, being still, surrendering.
You're like, no, PY, PG, I get it. It's hard to sometimes rest and be still when you're so used to hustling and grind and worry.
I have seen the law work in the most astonishing manner. For example, a student stated that it was necessary for her to have $100 by the following day. It was a debt of vital importance which had to be met. I spoke the word, declaring spirit was never too late, and that the supply was at hand. That evening she phoned me of the miracle. She said that the thought came to her to go to her safety deposit box at the bank to examine some papers. She looked over the papers, and at the bottom of the box was a new $100 bill. She was astounded and said she knew she had never put it there, for she had gone through the papers many times. It may have been a materialization, as Jesus Christ materialized the loaves and fishes. We will reach the stage where our word is made flesh or materialized instantly. The fields ripe with harvest, I will manifest immediately, as in all of the miracles of Jesus Christ. There is a tremendous power alone in the name Jesus Christ, for it stands for truth made manifest. He said, whatsoever ye ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. The power of this name raises the student into the fourth dimension, where he or she is freed from all astral and psychic influences and becomes unconditioned and absolute, as God himself is unconditioned and absolute. I have seen many healings accomplished by using the words in the name of Jesus Christ, right? So of course, I too have seen many healings accomplished by using the words in the name of Jesus Christ. And we understand that the words aren't the power. It's what's in back of the words, right? Now, one of the reasons that we just have to know this just on a very practical level, in the name of Jesus Christ translates differently into the many, many, many languages that are around the world. And so, en el nombre de Jesus or Christos, right? If I say that in Spanish, the power behind it is still the power behind it, but I did not just use the words that she used, right? So that means that it's what's behind it is where the power is, right? I also recognize, I was reminded as she talked about this idea of manifesting, I'm looking at the time, but manifesting, materializing things. If you read Autobiography of a Yogi, it's one of the things that I love about reading the book and the familiarity of it is the many different healers and teachers that he encountered on his journey. And one of my favorite story is of the powerful guru who could manifest a whole spread of food, literally piping hot food, right? It gets me every time. So we recognize that everyone is working with the same power, right, and using different names, right?
Say that again. That was good.
Everyone is working with the same power and using different names, right? That's what's really going on, and it's so important that we understand that, right? So it's not to diminish, absolutely, using the name of Jesus Christ.
If that works for you.
Right, understanding what it is, and it works for you, but also understanding that there's a power in backup and behind it, which is also what Jesus said, right? Apart from my Father, I can do nothing. It is not I, but it is the Father within me that does the work.
I guess we should answer that question now.
Right. So the other piece about fourth dimensional, the power of this name raises the student into the fourth dimension. So when we think about the three-dimensional world, that's the physical world. That's everything we can see, taste, touch, or smell, right? Once we add the fourth dimension, that's now what's transcendent, right? That's now we're accessing the spiritual realm, right? And we're rising above the physical. And so that's what she's saying is that whether it's using the name of Jesus the Christ or some other truth statement, we use these words and these statements to raise us to a consciousness that is that transcends, again, what we can see, taste, touch, or smell, as she says, free from astral and cyclic influences. And we become unconditioned and absolute, as God itself is unconditioned and absolute.
All right, goes back to that unconditioned living series.
Right.
Like, when we raise to this level of consciousness, nothing here that would have impacted our ability to see, hear, experience truth has effect. Doesn't mean that things don't happen in the third dimension. It means that we learn how to rise above them and get our insight, inspiration, leads from that realm.
I'm reminded in the Kabbalion where it talks about the principle of rhythm, right? That the pendulum swings, that there's always this back and forth that's going. But the master metaphysician, the student, can learn to rise above that swinging. And so you live in the center, you live in that balance. That, of course, is the central teaching of all teachings, right? I'm reminded of Joseph Campbell as he talks about some of the art and carvings, Hindu carvings, where you have the three faces. And the goal is to be that face in the middle, right? And, of course, Buddha teaches about the middle way. This is what we're talking about, unconditioned and absolute. Right?
Thank you for the question, yes.
Yeah. Christ was both person and principle, and the Christ within each of us is our Redeemer and salvation. The Christ within is our own fourth dimensional self, right? The man made in God's image and likeness, or the person. This is the self which has never failed. So, right, again, this fourth dimensional self, right? There's an aspect of us, right? What's taught by many is that who and what we are manifested here is like 1% of who and what we are.
This little bitty much.
Right, right. I like to think about it. I like to use the analogy of the video game, right? I used to love to play Super Mario Brothers, right, back in the day. But whatever the game may be, right, that character is you, right? You would even say, oh, I need to go left. I need to go, right? You're not Mario. You're not the character. You're not those pixels on the screen. But yet it is a representation of you in the game. But there's so much more of you outside of the game that is actually controlling what's happening in the game, right? And so this is the thing, that this Christ within us is our own fourth dimensional self. The Christ within us is like me with the controller outside of the game, knowing that it's just a game of life and how to play it, right? Knowing that, if I die, I don't really die in this game. Knowing that I have infinite lives. Know that I can press reset, right? Right? And so that's what she's talking about. This self, which has never failed, never known sickness or sorrow, never born, and has never died, right? You outside of that game, you haven't experienced any of those things that character is experiencing on that screen.
Right.
Right? It is the resurrection and the life of each person. No man cometh to the Father save by the Son, means that God, the universal, working on the place of the particular, becomes the Christ in us, in humanity. And the Holy Ghost means God in action. So daily, each of us is manifesting the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Right? So the question about, no man cometh to the Father save by the Son. What that means is, if Christ is our fourth dimensional self, the part of us that transcends the physical, right? The Father, God, the all that is in the non-physical. You don't get to that which is unconditioned and absolute, that which is absolute truth, that which is prosperous and abundant, and life-giving and life-affirming, except through the Christ within you, that thing within you that knows that truth. That is what's accessing the all that is.
Right.
Right.
And it's not meaning saved like you go to church and you've been saved. It's meaning accept through is what that really means. And I know sometimes now when we see spiritual text and we see the word saved, we get kind of scared. That's not, it's just an old way of saying accept through.
Right. And so she goes on, this was the other question. Man should make an art of thinking, The master thinker is an artist and is careful to paint only the divine designs upon the canvas of his or her mind. And he or she paints these pictures with masterly strokes of power and decision, having perfect faith that there is no power to mar their perfection and that they shall manifest in our life the ideal made real. So making an art of thinking, this is, I refer to you all as master metaphysicians, right? And master is not in the sense of I mastered the game, but it's that I exercise mastery, right? And so this idea of making an art of thinking is this idea that we begin to work elegantly with our thoughts, right? That we are conscious of what we're thinking and saying, right? Sometimes something that PY and I do all the time, when there's something we know we might want to complain about or have an opinion about, and I'd say, all I know is all is well.
Yeah.
See, I'm making an art of thinking because I understand the superconscious, the conscious, and the subconscious. And I know what would happen if I begin to speak idle words around something that ain't my business to begin with.
Right.
All I know is all is well. I'm bringing my heart and mind back to what is absolutely true.
And the other thing, I love the idea of the art of thinking. An artist takes time with its creation.
Yes.
An artist falls in love with its creation. And so we should fall in love with the power of our mind and use it in a way that is artistic and beautiful, and that we turn and we look at it this way. And if we've chosen incorrectly, we can turn and see something differently. When you admire something, you don't criticize the art of thinking. You make it an art of thinking, right? There's beauty in that.
Yeah.
Like, did we ever realize until, these ideas come into our consciousness, how powerful we really are?
Right.
What we usually do is once we begin to understand the power of our mind, then we beat up on ourselves because we now have this power, as opposed to, oh my God,
Right.
look at what's at my disposal. Look at the beauty of this inherent ability, of this grace and ease, of the ability to choose and think and create.
Right. Like, imagine if you woke up today and found that you had the skills of the greatest painter or the greatest composer. You had the voice of Whitney Houston, right? Like, what would you start singing, right? You wouldn't just be random with it, right? Like, that's the thing. And so everything about this text, these 10 chapters, have shown us that you have this powerful skill as a creator. You are gifted. You are talented. You are brilliant.
You are a master thinker.
Yeah.
You are an artist with your consciousness. You would begin to think differently, and you would begin to be consciously thinking all the time. And if the thoughts that you were creating were unto your liking, you would change them. I love that idea of if you became the voice like Whitney Houston. You would be singing menus. You'd be singing yourself to sleep at night. You'd be looking in the mirror, talking about what you got on in a beautiful way. You'd be admiring and appreciating others with your voice.
All power is given us through right thinking to bring our heaven upon our earth. And this is the goal of the game of life. The simple rules are fearless faith, non-resistance, and love. It always comes down to the basics, y'all. She done said a whole lot to bring us back to this. The simple rules: fearless faith, active faith, non-resistance, and love.
Right, and if you find your faith is inactive, you're going to remember this message and you're going to spray some activator on it. You're going to find that bridge, whatever it is for you.
Yes.
Right?
May each reader be now freed from that thing which has held you in bondage through the ages, standing between you and your own, and know the truth which makes you free. Free to fulfill your destiny, to bring into manifestation the divine design of your life. The perfect square, as she calls it. Health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
It's a
My
beautiful
goodness.
place. And it's followed by several affirmations. Some of these you may take and use as your own. You may, as your master artist, you may take these initial words and craft it in a way that feels good and beautiful to you. That is what they are there for.
Absolutely. 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 So it is time for giving. And so you see the information here on your screen. You may have seen it earlier. Give what feels good, right? What we teach here and continue to reinforce here at CSC, that the amount, can be important, but it's really what's behind the amount. It's what's behind the amount, right? A joyful dollar is better than a stingy 100, right?
Or scared 1,000.
Or scared, right. Like, that's really the truth around giving. And I say this because this is not about church and giving to church. This is about everything you do, right? If you're, scared to spend money on that trip, oh, I really shouldn't, right? Right. Unfortunately, I can pretty much tell you how that trip's going to play out. Right, because of the seeds that you've sown, right? And so this is why we reinforce this, because this is how you should circulate your funds, no matter what it is. Give what feels good, right? So you can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, or just scroll down to the giving section, or you can text to give, 347-744-9500. Just text your dollar amount. It's a $10 minimum to give. We, of course, appreciate your gifts. It continues to allow CSC to do what we do so wonderfully, easily, and effortlessly. It allows us to continue to bring this stream to you in the ways that we're able to do it. And of course, allows us to support other organizations that we believe in, because as an organization, we are also depositing and giving what feels good, and watching those dollars grow and multiply. So we appreciate y'all. We hope that you have a really good remainder of your Sunday. Looking at the time, it's 12:39 Eastern Standard Time. We begin on time. So the God Talk will begin at 1 p.m. If you are on our mailing list, check your inbox or your spam or junk folder. The Friday email went out. The information is there. If you're new and just joining us, let's go back to the first-time guests. You can still join our mailing list. If you text WELCOME to 347-472-1078. If you text that phone number, just the word welcome, you'll receive a reply. Tap the link, enter your information. Once you get the confirmation that you're all set, then check your inbox and you should see the God Talk information there. We look forward to your questions. We look forward to seeing you all, which is the fun part about being in Zoom with the God Talk. And just seeing where Spirit leads us, because it always leads us somewhere wonderful.
Absolutely. And next week will be the last week in terms of We Got Game series. If you have used any of the things that we have been discussing in these chapters and you found it useful, email us and let us know. And we'd love to be able to share what you've benefited from and how your life has changed as a result of this series. So please send that to us, because we'll share it next week.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. So we love y'all. And again, happy Father's Day. Enjoy the day. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the weather. I hope it's warm where you are. It's wonderful and warm here in New York. We'll see y'all either at the God Talk, Momentum Prayer Call on Wednesday, or we'll see you next Sunday.
Right. Looking forward to it.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.